Is there anything specific you would like me to mention? Okay, good. We're happy you're here, so.
Thank you, thank you.
We've got about 3 minutes, so.
Right, okay. Welcome to Voices in Mission at Northampton Presbyterian Church. We would like to welcome Reverend Steinagel, and we appreciate her coming out on this rainy night. Thanks for everyone who could be here, and also for those at home listening in. We are going to be hearing about the Welcome Church Without Walls in West Kensington. And we're looking forward to how Northampton Presbyterian Church might be able to be a support to you. Thank you.
So something I like to, when we're such a large group that I'm sure it'll be difficult for everyone to talk. Something I like to do sort of whenever I talk about the Welcome Church with people is to start out by asking, what are things that you think of when you hear the word home? Or what are things that are necessary to be there so you could say that's a home? What are some thoughts? A place with walls. And okay, so walls and warmth are definitely very good. Yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to leave this, so I'll have to.
You can walk around it to an extent.
We'll try that. That's nice. Yes.
I think of family.
Family. Okay, so people.
Yes.
Definitely people who are there. Same. Okay, great. So right off, I heard both physical things, the walls. I'm going to stretch the warmth. Could be, obviously, it's even colder here in Bucks County than where I was just down in a little south of here. We're in the Northeast. Obviously, physical warmth is something that needs to be controlled for people in this part of the world. in order for health reasons. But there's other kinds of warmth we look for in our homes also, I would say, and obviously people. A very long time ago, I did a word study of the word house in the Bible, and it's very interesting, the balance of the word meaning physical structure and people, I think is so a home is, definitely we think of a physical structure, but there's, I think, so much more in order to say that's a home. So the Welcome Church is a congregation made up of people who are experiencing homelessness, and it's a Lutheran congregation founded by a pastor named Violet Little, and I got to know her around the same time, really, that everything that was going to become the Welcome Church was taking shape. I was working for the Presbytery as the Hunger Action Enabler, and was just definitely interested in everything she was doing. And so I sort of started hanging out and helping with various things, and eventually I came to work with the Welcome Church as the associate pastor. The reason I think it's interesting to ask about home is obviously there's people who don't have physical homes, but there's so many of the things that we think of that make a home that either people, I think, arguably have, and we want to recognize that. They have relationships. It's really relationships that are, going to be key to surviving on the streets. And they're also, looking for a lot of those same kinds of things that hopefully, that we think of beyond the four walls. And I think even when somebody gets an apartment, it's really important for that person's, just health in so many ways, their mental health and their ability to keep the apartment. It's so important for them to be able to maintain the relationships with people in a lot of ways. Otherwise, they risk losing the place. They risk, doing themselves in by telling people they can come stay in the apartment when they can't, and losing the place that way, or just sort of not being able to handle having a place. And so the Welcome Church, is a congregation, and it's about both helping to build relationships with people who are out on the streets, and really celebrating and looking to empower and help out in any way we can the relationships that are there already. One thing we do when people move into housing is we give a welcome home kit, which it looks like a housing shower. It's all bed products, like sheets and pillows and pillowcases and things, all kitchen stuff like pots and pans and plates and silverware and everything, and then things for the bathroom as well, because again, people aren't going to have those things if they've been on the street. So there's the physical part that people need, and then there's just always the connect. It helps remind the person that yes, we do still, even though you're going, kind of away, you're welcome anytime. We're still in relationship with you. Anything you need, let us know. We want to be in continuing relationship, and that really, the Welcome Home Kit is one thing that's able to speak that for people really loudly. So again, home is so much more than four walls. In fact, some people have how much this becomes a mouthful, I will not weigh in on yet, but some people even start to say unhoused among people who are experiencing homelessness on the streets. They'll say, unhoused instead of homeless, because they do, they have, in the best of worlds, relationships and a sense of home, and they need, what's missing is the physical piece. And if people don't have homes in any sense, I think that, again, that's really our calling to help make that with and for people, that there are people who that I know who don't necessarily easily fit into structures, as we call them, as far as being able to stay inside in an apartment. But I hope that that doesn't mean that we say, okay, well then, next person, who is able to fit, that let's figure out as together how to build homes together, which will hopefully includes helping people get physical housing, but also includes giving people opportunities to build relationships one with the other. Someone made this wonderful brochure, obviously. I will say there is nothing in here that is not true. Obviously, 2 years ago, everybody was packed a wallop as far as business as usual. The Welcome Church also had to, pretty much shut down, so to speak, for a period of time. Now, of course, we're a church without walls. We center thematically around the Ben Franklin Parkway. We worship there on the first and last Sunday of every month. And we use space that different churches let us use in the greater Center City area for different activities. And definitely all of those churches, shut down, all the buildings we used, and we just were able to restart coming back to Bible study at Lutheran Church at the Holy Communion this past August. And we're in contact with Art Street Methodist Church, where we formerly did tea time. And the days have flip-flopped, so we're now at Holy Communion on Mondays doing Bible study, and we're in conversation with Art Street Methodist about doing another gathering on Tuesdays. Food is still kind of difficult to figure out. We've started with snack bags as our primary way of helping to get food to people. Over this past summer, we were walking around with a wagon, which now the wonderful thing about being called the Welcome Church is you can take the word welcome and pop it onto just about any word, and we have a new program, which is wonderful. So we call that the Welcome Wagon. And this past summer, we were walking around a couple days a week, just really to help offer snack bags to people and bottled water to people. Also, we were working with both the city and with Rite Aid to share information about vaccines with people. But again, just to check in with people. But earlier on, we started returning to the Parkway for worship, but there really were just about every time still when we get together or walk around the city, I see somebody who I haven't seen in a couple of years, and that's a really wonderful thing to be able to do. I mean, it's just so amazing, and it's good to know people are still safe, and you never know quite what's going on when people's means of contacts are very varied and loose. So snack bags are our primary means of giving out food, and we will, at Art Street Methodist, it won't be tea time exactly, at least not as of right now, but we're looking at some different ideas to do one Tuesday a month will be a day to do art, one Tuesday a month will a day to do a writing group, and then we want to kind of ask people, what topics would they like to discuss, and we might be able, either just have a certain day that we would always have a discussion topic together, and if it seemed appropriate to whatever the topic was, bringing in guest speakers and things. So that's sort of the new program yet forming without a name as of yet. I mentioned art. We were really, right when the pandemic started, we have always done art with people in a number of different settings and circumstances and tools and things. A lot of people knit or crochet, and we kind of make yarn available to anybody who needs it. We were just about to sort of kick off a new strengthening of our art programs under the title of Welcome Art. And we know a wonderful person whose name is Rachel Gouchois, who's a recreational therapist who just does, and also I would say an artist in her own right. And so she oversees our Welcome Art program. Now all of that has taken a lot of continued creative thinking and rethinking, in the sense of we couldn't no longer say, okay, we're going to have art this day at the Well, which is our women's shelter, because the Well hasn't been able to have visitors or whatever. We definitely have been making art kits, and making those available both sort of out on the streets and at the places we gather. And now Rachel's wonderful, so I'll give a very poor description of everything she does. An art kit to me could be as simple as, you know, a Ziploc bag with like a pad of paper in it and some colored pencils or crayons or whatever appropriate, you know, things so people can have access to just, you know, to just being able to express themselves in that way. Now she's wonderful about, you know, going to different stores and creating like different kinds of kits. But so that's always a surprise as far as what's it going to be. We were finally able this past September to have an art show at Ardmore Presbyterian Church, and 5 artists were able to come in person through a wide variety of connections who were able to be put together, including somebody who actually now lives down in Cecil County, Maryland, where once upon a time I was originally ordained to work at a place called Meeting Ground, which is a shelter in Cecil County, Maryland, which is now where this person lives. But we got him up from Cecil County. He's an incredible artist. And we have some people who do, again, like fabric arts, knitting and things, and a woman who makes jewelry out of paper beads. She winds the paper tightly into things that almost look like plastic or something, beads, and makes them into earrings and things. So we were able to have an art show, and we are certainly would love to, you know, see that happen again. And all of those things are also sort of available for gift giving, you know, both at Christmas or any time people want. Some of the artists sell their scarves and the earrings and even the painted paintings as well, the visual arts. I will say that we have, I guess, you know, things have obviously been looking better numbers-wise with COVID. I say, you know, if you're reading the inquiry, you know, I don't think we're all ready to just hang up our concerns yet. But we were, for the first time since 2020, able to have an Ash Wednesday service this past year. We gathered outside on a beautiful sunny day, which was wonderful, because we've had a mythology developed that if you want to know when the worst weather is going to be, find out when the Welcome Church is worshiping outside. But Ash Wednesday was a beautiful day, if anyone recalls, and we were at there at the Love, around the Love statue at Love Park, and we will be also now for the first time in, I guess, 3 years, since 2019, doing Stations of the Cross on Good Friday. With a number of years ago, with the gathered Welcome Church group, we talked about Stations of the Cross, and we together wrote our own Stations of the Cross liturgy with the 14 traditional Stations of the Cross. But at that point, asking people in Suburban Station, what do you think of when you hear this station? You know, and we came up with a walk around. We'd done that for a number of years. Obviously, we've taken since 2020 and 2021 off, and in that time also Suburban Station has gone through a lot of changes. I don't know who here commutes or does what, but you really can't hang out in Suburban Station anymore. They took out all the benches. There's turnstiles that you have to go through to get on a train. It's a lot less friendly to a lot of different people who might just want to have a place to use that as a stop-off place. You can still board a train there, but that's really about it. And but we both recognizing that fact and recognizing that outside is safer than inside in anybody's rubric, we've come up with a new walking order for Stations of the Cross, starting again at the ticket booth, just so we're easy to find, and then walking down the hall towards like the Broad Street line in the post office, and exiting and going up, including some locations as stations, like at Dilworth Plaza and Thomas Paine Plaza and Love Park. So, and there's just obviously a lot of places that are meaningful to people, so trying to incorporate their different voices. Something I had sort of seen this happening, but it only seems to be increasing. That in Suburban Station, where there's these yellow tiles down that hallway, people have started writing prayers on the tiles with any which kind of writing material, from pencil to more like permanent marker. And I've never witnessed the writing, so it's quite mysterious to me. But people are, at the very least, clarifying that their needs are beyond, when we think, oh, what do people who are homeless need? Oh, they need snack bags, whatever. But, and I've already sort of cited relationships, but people have, real spiritual needs. And I think you're going to find out about it one way or the other if you stick around long enough to be in conversation with people. I mean, it's just being put out there, which is amazing to me. But I think a lot of times that's not our first thought, that people are looking for a relationship with God, at a basic level. And, just sort of opening your eyes and hanging out for a little longer can teach you that. I do want to mention Sanctuary Village, which is the tiny house project that the Welcome Church helped to get started. The Sanctuary Village is now a separate nonprofit, and it has a relationship with the city of Philadelphia now. The city has allocated land in Northeast Philadelphia at 7979 State Road for building Philadelphia's first community of tiny houses for people experiencing chronic street homelessness. And, definitely education and what it is like to work with anything, probably with the city. We've just submitted our first application for zoning, and the wisdom has been suggested that will be rejected, and then you file an appeal. That's just kind of the way these things work. And it's like, well, then why don't we just skip that part and go right to the appeal? Let's just skip a couple of weeks. But I brought some brochures about Sanctuary Village, which will elucidate you on the basic facts of that. So I brought also some different things that I can share. I brought a copy of a report that we wrote just at the end of the 2021 year about the different things we had done. And I also brought, about a year ago, last March, a woman who's named Jackie Chapman, who's one of our leaders of the Welcome Church, somebody who had experienced homelessness and has now been, over 5 years, I believe, in her own place. But she is definitely committed to working on the tiny houses with us. But around a year ago in Newsweek, she had her story published. So. So I definitely have a list of ways that, things that, are different ways to get involved with the things, people can do to help out, that are, both things certainly people could do as individuals or ways, things that people could do as groups. But are there any questions so far? Please.
How many people do you generally see at a service?
How many people do we usually see at a service is the question. So yeah, We ask different churches to bring coffee hour for us, which now consists of, again, snack bags and bottled water or coffee also. And we ask them to bring snack bags for 50. That's has really worked well as a number. Now, we tend to usually have maybe like 9 to make up a number left at the end, and I'm usually able, or I'm always able to I walk back to the train station to go home, and I'm always able to get rid of the last several on the way. But so we see between maybe 10 and 30 gathered with us on the Parkway, and some, I would say, it's been an adjustment all around with COVID. That there's some people who are, out on the same benches that they were 2 years ago. We could go say hello to certain people right now, but there's other people who, disappeared for a while, and that's their story to tell. So people, sort of, a couple of months ago, like 3 guys came, and all of them said individually, "Oh yeah, we remembered it was the first Sunday of the month, so we came out." So, which was just, that was so beautiful to hear. But we do have regulars who come like it's a church service every week. It's a mix of always seeing new people for the first time and your regular community. And we, really do gather right kind of around the benches where people are anyway. So some people, we know they're going to be there, and they know we're going to be there, but, they're also there because they're there and we're there. So, but yeah, 10 to 30, and we've been seeing around 10 to 12 at Bible study weekly. Now, Bible study used to be a whole lot huger. It used to be like 30 to 50 people, but things change, and obviously we always, in some thematic sense, try to leave a welcome table as part of our gathering, a space that if anybody brings anything, they can share it with others. And that could be, gifts and talents that people bring. And that also has literally been, food that someone just takes out of their bag and adds to the table. Obviously, in the current world, we're doing a whole lot less in food and trying to be really careful about sharing of food. On Mondays, we often have someone make bag lunches for us, and then we can give those to people when they go. So around 10 to 12 currently at Bible study, down from what, again, 2 years ago was 30 to 50, and like 10 to 30 on Sundays, which is probably, down from what used to be like 20 to 50 or something, but. And I think we've said we know definitely at least 100 people, like if I were to make a list of all the people I know, and between 100 and 200 people who are sort of known to us as a community, and that's obviously, that runs a gamut as far as people who are, who are out on the streets when we met them and are either, some of them still on the streets or not in permanent housing, some of those in permanent housing and staying in touch with us or staying actively a part of us as well. So here's a list of some ways that groups can get involved with us, and because a lot of them will have similar language to what you've, to some of the things I've talked about. The first thing, make snack bags. We're obviously doing snack bags on at our Bible study on Mondays. We're looking to add Tuesdays, which will again be snack bags, and we have had a practice when we have enough snack bags with sharing those also with our Women's Shelter The Well and with Bethesda Project, who we run the well in partnership with. And that way, when people head out for the day from the shelter, they have, can stick one of those in their pocket and at least have, something taken care of for a meal alternative or whatever. So snack bags have become probably the number one thing that did not exist before that I ask for now. Around 5 mix of snacks, like both salty and sweet things, pre-wrapped things, all put in a Ziploc bag. And some people are able to fit that in a little Ziploc bag, and some people use a big one, and that I'm not going to concern myself with. We love it again, it's been COVID, and distance has been, a good choice for a lot of reasons. We definitely invite groups to just come be with us and hang out with us. People can come join us for worship on Sundays on the Parkway. We gather at 3 p.m. on the first and last Sunday of every month. And anyone is just welcome to come. If you also want to host a coffee hour, again, you'd bring snack bags. And we really weren't trying to encourage beverages for a long time, just to keep things simple. But we get a lot of requests for bottled water, even in the depths of the winter. And I know we get a lot of requests for bottled water when it gets to be the heart of summer. And we've just sort of started saying if people wanted to bring 2 boxes of Joe and a folding table, and that seems to be working. So, that hasn't been any obvious problem. When we had more people and different arrangements, coffee hour was a lot more of a frenetic activity. Now it's incredibly quiet and not frenetic because fewer people, and some people have again just disappeared and not come back yet. So we're somewhat of it is a very calm experience now compared to other earlier times. I currently do have a waiting list for welcome home kits, which we give to people when they move from homelessness into housing. I have the list of things that a welcome home kit gets. We request new things, and it's really both, again, gives people these basics that they need for an apartment, and then is also, a celebration with people of a new beginning. So I'll show you the list, and that way we're able to throw people like sort of a new housing shower. Would you like copies of everything?
At some point, yeah.
I haven't given you a thing, I'm sorry.
I have 2 questions from Judy.
Yes.
The first one is, what compelled you to get involved in this kind of ministry? And the second is, do you see homelessness as a problem to be solved?
So, I've been drawn to this for a long time myself. So why or how would be a more wispy question to try to answer. But quite seriously, when I graduated, I went to Union Theological Seminary in New York City and graduated in '96, and was obviously in conversation with the Committee on Preparation for Ministry in Hudson River Presbytery. And at the time they asked me, so what do you want to do? And I sort of mapped out a couple of different ideas. Pretty much what I'm doing now was number 1 on my list, saying that I want to, and I was in the New York City area then, but so I want to somehow be, building relationships with people who are out on the streets in some sort of pastoral role. That's, what I said at the time. I took a little bit of a circuitous route from seminary down to Maryland and then back up to Philadelphia, or to Philadelphia for the first time, where I was for 11 years the Hunger Action Enabler for the Presbytery, which that was obviously a wonderful opportunity as well. But this is something I've been interested in for a long time. And I feel it more, and now I feel it extremely strongly in the world which we have, which we're seeing, churches shrink, and people are saying, gee, how can we get more people to come to our churches? It's like, if you want people, there are people, and they are out there, and they are seeking, and they are extremely open to being a part of a church community. Now, it's not a church community like we usually picture, but I think we just have to understand that new times, new visions, it's all, you know, the gate is open. You can kind of do anything you want now, and you know, and we're going to have to, just as you know, as the global Christian community, we can't kind of always say we're going to do what we used to do, because it's, you know, not everybody is looking to do that anymore. So it would not surprise me if numbers in congregations keep going down if we keep doing what we've been doing. One thing, which I don't think a whole lot of people have been doing, even though some are, but is having church with people who are out on the streets, and there's definitely people there both who have strong spirituality and faith, and that's really something that keeps them going, and also, you know, people who, you know, are open to conversations both. So it's a fertile evangelism ground, so to speak. I think it's in the future, many people will find themselves more in this sort of setting just because that's where the people are. They're not they're not here, they're somewhere else. And so we need to find our ways outside the doors to find the people. And the other question was, I'm sorry, I talked to...
Another question is, how are you funded?
Oh, okay. The Welcome Church is wonderfully funded by every kind of people, you know, individuals and congregations and denominational grants of all sorts. It gets a little stickier when you look at specifically my salary. I'll be clear, we'll just put it right on the table. My colleague, Violet Little, obviously works with her denomination as a founder of a congregation under development. They have a relationship with her to pay her as a founder of a new congregation. I came along, and I think, you know, it's a good deal for someone to cut with somebody. It's like, gee, I'd love to come work for you, and you know, and I'll find my own salary, basically. Okay, do whatever you want. You're not hurting me anyway, and you're saying. So I went door to door to different congregations originally in 2012 and 2013 when I first stopped working with the presbytery, and explained what I was looking to do, that I was looking to go work with the Welcome Church. And it was a little bit of a longer journey than I expected, but eventually some different folks came on board, and that's how I get paid. I get paid by different contributions from different congregations, and also the presbytery provides support as well. So I thought that would be an incredibly easy task when I first proposed it. It was a little harder than I thought. I have been so, you know, if there's anything that has taught me to, you know, to rely on my faith, it's been that process, as far as I don't expect, there's no reason I should expect anything from anybody, and I'll get like emails or checks in the mail and that are new to me, and I'll just be like, wow, certainly wasn't expecting that, and so I've been taken care of one way or the other through a creative funding arrangement of various congregations.
Do people share their stories about becoming unhoused?
Yeah, I mean, there's always, you know, the question of, are you ever going to get anybody's whole story, I think. You know, people share with you what they're comfortable sharing, you know, in the times in which you are with them. And trust is obviously huge. I mean, often I think, you know, people sometimes will say, gee, I didn't know that homeless people were interested in going to church or anything. And I think, but the trust is huge. Like, people aren't going to share personal things about you, about themselves with you, if trust hasn't been built. So yes, certainly, but, you know, it's only as far as people feel comfortable doing so. I know one woman who is a operatically trained soprano. I mean, I'm not musical, so saying this is not, I mean, it comes from a very uninformed place on my part, but I have never heard someone who has a voice like hers. It's amazing. And we got, she came in, she stayed in our shelter, The Well, for a number of months. She was, active in our Bible study. And some of the problems she had was as simple as helping to get her paper trail back together, like I needed to go to City Hall, like pay a check so she could get certain ID documents. And, so some ridiculous things happen to people, as well as, more serious things that happen to people. Let me bring one of each thing back to the third row where yes.
We often hear of a certain percentage of the homeless that choose to be that way. Do you deal with folks like that? And what is your explanation for someone with that choice?
So I think my explanation of that is we need to be really careful with the vocabulary, that the word choose is an extremely loaded word. People are, doing the things that they, people are making, obviously we're all making choices all the time. We're making choices within the constructs of things that are available for us. You have some, serious basic facts that there's a lack of affordable housing in Philadelphia. People, what kind, so making choices within a construct with which you're bound to only go so far in your choice making. I know people who, you might say that about, who live outside and seem to be very happy that way. I think that does not reduce the fact that we need to build a society which allows everyone to have a sense of home. That while they're outside, how do we build relationships with them, and how do we help create safety for them? Because without that, the trust, again, is a big thing. You're only going to choose to enter into a program when you trust the people who are at all connected with anything. And so we can be people's first experience of trust. We're famously the people who show up in good weather and bad weather on the Parkway. It's that's sometimes been a joke among people, or a very serious statement among people. Once it was raining and we came out for worship, and one man was like, "Oh yeah, I know, I told everyone you were going to be here." And people were like, "There's no way they'll be here." And I told them. So again, people only are going to make choices within the constructs which are available to them, and making choices to do things involves developing relationships of trust. Obviously, I'm not going to discount mental health issues. Some people aren't in a place where they feel they can be inside. Again, building relationships of trust and building somehow what does society look like that gives safe space for people no matter what. It seems like an awful harsh punishment to say to somebody, well, you're choosing to not function like the rest of us. We all know that we all go inside when it gets to be wintertime, and you don't seem to know that. Therefore, the consequence of that is we're going to leave you out in the cold. Seems to not be the social construct that I want to function within. So, yes, I see that language, but I think it's language we have to be really careful with using about what is a choice and what does it mean to choose to be homeless. I don't know that anybody is choosing to be homeless, but some people, there's no other choice that they can make at that time. Let me bring my pile of papers back up here, back to the back. And then I have a couple of other things I can say, a couple of other opportunities. You guys are a ways out here. We are looking for groups to do lunches on Mondays. If you ever wanted to come visit us on a Monday for Bible study at Holy Communion at 21st and Chestnut and bring back lunches for 20 to 25 people, we would definitely put you on the calendar for that. Art supplies I mentioned, definitely we would take those at any point. If you wanted to host an art show, we would figure that out. And all of this has very open timelines to it. Obviously, we don't have a deadline to hold the art shows. That could be, now, or that could be next December, with a theme, so to speak. Sanctuary Village is actively involved in fundraising. They are planning to have a Beers for Your Summer barbecue fundraiser on Saturday, April 30th from 3 to 5 p.m. in Hatfield. So I'll make sure everyone gets one of these for your consideration and sharing. And once Sanctuary Village gets off the ground as far as being literal houses, there will be different ways for people to be involved as far as helping to supply welcome kits when people get there, as far as sheets and towels and maybe some basic foods for the mini fridge and stuff for when people move in, and also things like gardening projects. If we're looking to both have landscaping and then some, we'd love to have like a community garden. So if anything interests people, one thing I can definitely say with certainty about the Welcome Church, and then by extension about Sanctuary Village, if there's something that somebody is interested in and you enjoy doing or whatever, there's really a good chance that somebody else likes to do that too, and we can kind of set up a group from there. June 18th, Saturday, June 18th, a movement called the Poor People's Campaign will have a gathering in Washington, D.C., and most directly through the Well. We've become involved with the Poor People's Campaign. One of the women of the Well was invited to speak her story, and was recorded as part of the sharing of stories with the Poor People's Campaign, which is a bottom-up movement of addressing poverty according to the priorities of people who are in poverty. And so we're sort of seeing if we're going to get a bus together from the Philadelphia area, or buses, or what that looks like. So June 18th would be another thing to circle on your calendar and stay in touch with me about how you might be able to be involved.
Thank you so much for sharing with
Thank
us.
you.
If there aren't any other questions, I think we can conclude, but you've been really informative and given a lot for us to think about.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I looked at the clock, I'm like, wow, 6:45, I'm good, or 7:45. Let me give out the papers about the beer fundraiser.
Okay, very good. And you're also welcome to join us for coffee and refreshments.
Thank you, everybody. This was fun to talk.